Here, I just drew this up. Here's kind of like what I envisioned our reality is. It's like a computer program, literally, because the computer is fashioned after what our reality is. So we must be fashioned after what another reality is. Here's your left pillar. It's one memory bank. Here's another pillar. It's a right memory bank. The two of these are identical, yet they're separate from each other. In other words, there's two complete realities going on in each one of these. Both of them are feeding into the processor, but not necessarily at the same time. This would explain why we see shit on the news that never happened, with police that weren't really involved. One is seemingly to be running the whole show, which happens to be this memory bank. You know, I can get more into depth in this, but if we look up here, it's interesting because it says to be parable, these two memory references must address opposite memory banks. Well, if you want to get into the biblical aspect of it, what did Jesus always talk about? He talked about parables. And what are parables? Parables are comparing one thing against another thing. So you would be comparing the left against the right and finding what the happy medium would be. Example, the parable of the donkey that fell down the well. Now the Jews are forbidden from doing anything on the Sabbath, which is Saturday. They're not allowed to do nothing. They still don't do it to this day. They don't even answer the phone. They don't do nothing. So the guy's donkey falls down the well. Jesus goes out and helps the guy get it out. The Pharisees and the Sadducees come up and say, "What are you doing? You're breaking the law." And Jesus made a comparison. He says, "Is it better to adhere to the law and leave the donkey in the well until Monday or Sunday, when it will probably or more likely be dead, or does it make more sense to get it out now so the guy can feed his family and be productive for the rest of his life?" That's a parable. When you're comparing one side against the other, this is parable, comparing one side against the other. These are two worlds that are going on exactly at the same time. I don't think the shit we're seeing on TV is happening here. I've said that in many videos. Now, these are called memory banks, right? Electricity is called currency. Okay, current. Money is called currency. Electricity is power. Money is power, because money is currency. Okay? Now, when Daniel asked the angel, when was the world going to end? Where did he talk to him at? He talked to him on the river bank. Memory bank. When will it end? Memory bank. I just see a hell of a lot of references in our world that link up to all of this other stuff. Double words, double addresses, double maps, opposite banks, yet they have exactly the same thing working at the same time, both trying to force theirs in. If both of them force their information at the same time, the computer will jam, and you've all had that happen, I believe, where you had to reboot. These are mirrors of each other. They're parables. Says it right there. Now, if this is an insult to anybody in the religious organization, sorry. The big black cube is the processor. The very first command, because this is not the real creator. This is the thing that's running this reality. This is not the guy that made it. So I'm not insulting the creator. It's this thing that's running this thing. The first command that came online, when it came online, was I am. It had self-consciousness. That's the phrase, I think, therefore I am. I'm online. Everything was chaotic because the program which is the law. It's the law. The program is the law, the way things work. That's the law. And the law is absolute because it's absolutely the way the system runs. If you break the law, you're a violator. I'll go more into depth in this stuff. I'm just giving you a basic idea. Current money is power because it's currency. Where does money come from? Because it's cash. What is cash? Cash is C-A-S-H-E. It's cachet. Cachet is a form of memory that's in computers. When you start running out of cachet, you start running out of memory. And pretty soon the thing, it can't hold anymore, and it'll crash and it'll do all kinds of stuff. Kind of the way it works here, when you start running out of cash, things get chaotic. The more cash you have, the better things run. I'm just making comparisons myself. It seems pretty obvious to me that the shit on the TV ain't coming from here. It's not made here. It's coming from somewhere else. This X that you see all over the planet is like a company logo. And Saturn is their logo, which is probably the main processor, although you've been told it's a planet. I've never seen into outer space. I don't know. I'm just saying. So this is just a little thing that I drew up. Both of these banks are pillars. The black cube is the processor. You have gates and computers. That's how information gets in and out. Through gates. Go look it up. The first, what was the pharaoh's name? Ramsey. RAM, random access memory. RAM-C. C is the processor. C is the processor. So you have RAM-C. C is 3. It's light. It's this whole thing about smashing light together. In other words, smashing information from column A, which is the left column, and column B, which is the red column. You're smashing information together. There's two worlds going on here. I guarantee it that there are. Imagine that we live in a computer program in a hard drive. That's what's going on. That's exactly what's going on. And that, to me, explains why we're seeing the shit on the news. Because it ain't happening here. It's happening in another memory bank. And it's being forced into the processor. And the processor is distributing justice, or the law, equally to both sides. Even though our side had nothing to do with it. So there's no balance here. There's no middle ground. But if you notice, and I've shown you picture after picture, the two pillars with the cube in the middle. That's what I think it is. It's just a theory. It don't mean shit, but it's just a theory.